Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, PeopleSoft Integration, SharePoint, Mobile, and Beyond. My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Americas, and I'm joined today by Ryan Beck, Senior Consultant. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Glenn.
We're happy to have all of you with us today. Hope that you're having a great day wherever you are. We are located here in Laguna Hills, California today for our broadcast, and we're looking forward to fantastic session. So we hope that all of you will be typing in your questions. It always makes it more interesting when we have questions that we can answer for you. So please go ahead and type those into the chat box or the questions box, and we'll take a look at those and try to answer those whenever possible. Now, we wanted to begin with just some background information on Magic Software, and then we'll get right into our topic of PeopleSoft Integration and SharePoint and mobile architectures for PeopleSoft Integration. Magic Software is a company that empowers customers around the globe with smarter technology that delivers a multi-channel user experience for enterprise processes and business logic and data. We are a global provider of application development and business integration platforms with proven experience, innovative technology, and we are highly focused on business needs. As an enterprise, we were established in 1983. We're publicly traded on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol MGIC. We have offices around the world with customers in more than 50 countries and some 1,000 employees, 2,500 business partners, and of course thousands of customers and millions of end users. Magic Software is a Gartner and Forrester ranked visionary and top performer for application and integration platform solutions, and we are highly focused on the success of our customers. We deliver training and education through our Magic University program. We provide 24/7 technical support through online e-service support and telephone support, as well as on-site and remote global services for that extra project help that you may need as you pursue your PeopleSoft integration projects with things like SharePoint mobile apps and other enterprise applications. Magic Software is a company that you can rely on. We have extremely solid and stable financials. In 2012, we reported $126 million plus in revenue. We had non-GAAP operating income of some $18.3 million and GAAP operating income of $16.2 million. And we had a very healthy cash flow from operations of $18 million and a solid balance sheet of $38.8 million in net cash. So as we look at the picture for last year, it was excellent, and this is a part of an ongoing trend. If we look at the year since 2007, right through the recession when many companies were having trouble, we were fortunate to be showing operating income and net income that was increasing year over year to the numbers that we reported for 2012. Magic, as a visionary and top performer, is a company that is frequently recognized for our efforts in the area of integration and application platform technology. We've won the SD Times, or Software Development Times 100 Award for middleware. We're listed on the Software 500. We're a 3-time SAP Award winner. We're very pleased to have won the Salesforce.com Integration Award. We're Gartner and Forrester ranked, as I mentioned, and we have alliance status with major vendors in the industry, companies like SAP and Oracle and IBM and Salesforce.com and Samsung and on and on. And so with these relationships, we're actually heavily involved in looking at what's coming in terms of new technology, preparing to act like Switzerland, if you will, as a neutral, agnostic provider of integration technology for our customers, and that's what makes it possible to take very different technologies based on Java and .NET and older legacy technologies like RPG and COBOL and keep it all working together smoothly in your IT environment. We do this for customers that represent brands that you've likely heard of with a variety of different approaches to integration. Companies like ABI and AutoZone and Borg Warner and Cleveland Golf and Mizuno and Rapatoni and Rexall and Roadnet and Sony and Toto and UPS and Vishay, and believe me, we could sit here all hour and talk about customer names and projects. But we wanted to have some time that we could get into the meat of the matter, the heart of the matter. But before we do that, I have one commercial announcement, which is I want to invite each of you to participate in the Magic Software Users Conference 2013. It's being held at the Encore at Wynn Las Vegas from June 3rd to the 5th, and it provides 3 days of Magic XPI for J.D. Edwards education. Very affordable. The rooms are $149 per night. The conference rate is $595 for the education piece. You can find information at www.magicsoftwareusersconference.com, and we'll be happy to provide you that information if you have a request at info@magicsoftware.com if you just want to send an email for further information. Magic Software is very fortunate to have a strong position with Microsoft when we talk about SharePoint integration for PeopleSoft, as we'll be doing today. We've been fortunate to have a lot of press coverage, comments by Jared Spataro, the Director of SharePoint Product Marketing at Microsoft, who said that SharePoint is an easy and effective way for users to interact with the processes and data important for their business, and solutions like Magic XPI will enable customers of all sizes to create SharePoint applications that access legacy business apps. So that's very exciting. How do we do that? At Magic Software, we provide an integration platform and an application platform as part of a single stack technology, both of which leverage metadata-driven solutions, meaning that there are underlying capabilities in the platform itself that you can access on a service basis, and more importantly, as a business analyst through our visually oriented design studios that make it possible to create application integration flows, to make it possible to create new applications for mobile, for web, for desktop, and other deployment modes. And so this is really exciting to be able to work at this higher level, abstracted level, so that there's not a requirement for line-by-line programming and coding. With SharePoint, there are a number of possibilities for you. And so when you're thinking about PeopleSoft and SharePoint and how can we integrate, there's just this whole world of integration touch points that you might want to consider. If you look at your back-end systems like PeopleSoft and how SharePoint can expose business processes across the organization, this can run the gamut. And so we won't try to detail each one of these here today, but just suggest that you begin to think as business analysts and IT managers in a creative fashion about what is possible for your organization, and then drill down into the specific requirements and do the use case analysis for that specific SharePoint application that you want to design and integrate to those back-end systems, because that's definitely possible. PeopleSoft, of course, is a Tier 1 ERP solution. As such, we have lots of customers running PeopleSoft that are talking to us and asking about SharePoint integration, talking to us and asking about how they can expose information from PeopleSoft in mobile apps, and so on. And so this is what we'll be talking about today. Now, Magic XPI, our integration platform, automates PeopleSoft Integration Broker interaction. So we know, those of you who are running PeopleSoft, managing those applications in your IT department, you know that there's this thing called the PeopleSoft Integration Broker. If you have an older version, don't panic. We are going to talk about how to interact with those older versions as well. But let's assume you have PeopleSoft Integration Broker installed. Sometimes people naively assume, if you'll excuse the expression, that solves the problem, and it really doesn't. All that does is expose the information, provide a gateway in and out of PeopleSoft, which is what you want, but you then have to realize that doesn't speak the native language of all of those other environments that you want to talk to. You can't go directly from the PeopleSoft Integration Broker to SharePoint. You can't go directly from the PeopleSoft Integration Broker to most Oracle applications. It's simply a way of surfacing the information. You then need a way to manage the interactions, do the data transformations, apply business logic, and so forth. And that's what the Magic XPI integration platform does. It's the intermediation between applications, the brokering of the communications between those applications that is so vital and essential. So that's what we're talking about today in the value add that we'll be looking at. So what does that architecture look like? A simple PeopleSoft EAI architecture would involve PeopleSoft Enterprise and its various modules, the use of the PeopleSoft Integration Broker, directly communicating with the Magic XPI integration platform, And then the Magic XPI integration platform handles all the interaction with third-party applications and Oracle Edge applications so that you have a well-integrated, straightforward, easy-to-use middleware platform that provides an ease of use that's unprecedented and very welcome in mid-sized and large enterprise IT departments that are trying to tackle these kinds of problems. Now, some of you have already incorporated some Oracle, AIA, application integration architecture, PIPs, and things of that nature, and that's fine. You can use those with the Magic XPI integration platform, and some of those may be directly integrating to some of your Oracle apps, and some of them, of course, don't have a way because Oracle doesn't provide that to integrate to other Oracle apps. If you're running, say, PeopleSoft together with J.D. Edwards World, there is no PIP for J.D. Edwards World and PeopleSoft as an example. Or you might be trying to integrate to a third-party application, a CRM system, supply chain management, product lifecycle management, enterprise content management, such as Sharepoint, or some sort of e-commerce platform. So, and there are many other examples, obviously, of third-party applications. So in that case, what Magic can do is utilize either direct PeopleSoft Integration Broker methods or work with the PIP in order to integrate to those applications. So that's the second type of architectural approach that we might be looking at. Now, when we talk about mobile, there's another factor here, and that becomes how do we serve up applications to our users that have a user interface to them that are native, that use the look and feel of those environments, that work through a firewall, so that we protect access to the data in our systems. We don't want to directly expose PeopleSoft. That just would be, from a security standpoint, not the correct approach. And so what we do is we provide through Magic XPI and Magic XPA a very secure way to do both the integration piece through Magic XPI and the application piece through Magic XPA, so that you have very nice, attractive business apps, so that an iPhone app looks like an iPhone app, an Android app looks like an Android app, and you don't have to write code in Objective-C and in J2ME and in J2SE and so on for BlackBerry, all of these various environments. It's one way of developing that deploys to many different deployment environments. Very powerful. Now, that PeopleSoft EAI architecture with mobile then has this kind of look, and we might also want to add then in the SharePoint piece. So for some organizations, and many of you that we're focusing on the webinar today, you're looking at how can I use PeopleSoft Enterprise and SharePoint together. And you might just simply do direct content access from PeopleSoft Enterprise to your users, and that's fine. But in many cases, some of your users don't have PeopleSoft Enterprise access, and so you want to provide a SharePoint app that gives them access to the data that's in PeopleSoft without giving them access to the PeopleSoft application itself. The PeopleSoft Integration Broker, working with the Magic XPI integration platform, will be able to support those SharePoint apps that you've designed with the information bidirectionally, event-driven, or scheduled batches that you're looking for. And at the same time, you can also bring in information from those Oracle Edge applications and those third-party applications. And then combining sort of the whole picture together with SharePoint, with mobile, with third-party apps, Oracle Edge apps, the ability to work through the PeopleSoft environment, you have Magic XPI right there handling it all, providing a very simple and straightforward integration environment so that you do not have to use 12 different middleware interfaces in order to accomplish all of this integration. And I think that's a really powerful statement and one worth investigating by your IT department. We're happy to do the proof of concept necessary to show you that this really works, to show you examples related to your specific kinds of business problems in the process. For example, Timecard Management is something that a lot of people need to talk about with across the organization, where you have timesheet entry, time card entry type of applications running in SharePoint, which as we see here, and you basically need to say, I'm reporting for work, I'm leaving work, I'm going to break, and so on, and then it's managing that. There are more sophisticated systems where you're charging and billing to specific projects and so forth. And we'll be talking about some of that actually in our next webinar when we talk about Primavera at 11 o'clock Pacific today. But in Timecard Management applications in SharePoint, there can be an overlap between what's going on in the SharePoint application and what the information that's contained and entered typically in the ERP system. So rather than collecting physical time cards or a data file from some kind of automated time card entry system and then uploading that, what you can do is utilize the SharePoint application and have that information overlap solved by doing the data transformations and bringing the information into the ERP system with all of the kinds of process controls that the business functions, and PeopleSoft Integration Broker provide. Now, employee expense reports, employee paid time off might be other areas where you're looking for things, resource capacity planning, and you want to end the problem of process isolation because not all employees have that PeopleSoft access. You're going to have essential ERP-related information which resides elsewhere, and there are multiple unsynchronized repositories of the same data. So we need to have an integration broker that resolves these synchronization questions. Otherwise, you have broken business processes, too many emails trying to resolve these issues, too many spreadsheets being passed around, and frankly, too many broken promises with customers, employees, and business partners. The good news, of course, is that there are interfaces available for PeopleSoft. We've talked a lot about the integration broker, but if we look at it in a broader picture, there's the component interface for PeopleSoft. There's application messaging. There are web services available. And the PeopleSoft Integration Broker Integration Gateway is the piece that passes and receives application messages and is backward compatible with XML and PeopleSoft application messaging if you have been using that in the past. There's also the PeopleSoft Integration Broker Integration Engine piece, and that handles the messages which are received from the gateways, and it supports the PeopleSoft ROSET-based message format, the non-ROSET-based message structures, including things like XML, document object model messages, SOAP or web services, and non-XML files. So that's kind of the good news that these interfaces are available. By the versions, this can look very differently. So if you go all the way back to PeopleTools, 8.0, it does not include the integration broker. So some of you just don't have that piece, but that's okay because it has the component interfaces, application engine, and the application messaging. And Magic XPI can integrate with those flat file formats and do all of the same things that we were talking about if you have a newer version with the PeopleSoft Integration Broker in place. So it's just a different way of going about it. It's a different way of parsing and extracting the information from those files, but it's all automated and when it comes to runtime, very doable. So that's the good news. Now, if you are in 8.40, you're not able to create web services from all the component interfaces. You can create it from some. In 8.42, you're not able to create web services from all of the application messages. So things were getting better, but there's still limitations in each of these versions. With 8.44, it wasn't certified as interoperable with Oracle Detail, for example. It's just that it wasn't possible. With 8.46, it's not certified as interoperable with Fusion middleware. So even with 8.47, it wasn't optimized for Fusion. So, and in 8.48, Java programming is sometimes required with Fusion to achieve certain types of integration, such as SNMP. If you wanted to do SNMP integration, Fusion just doesn't do that. So you have to write Java programs in order to make that possible. And so Magic XPI compares very favorably with all of these version scenarios for integration with PeopleSoft. And that's based on your PeopleTools version that you might be utilizing. So the great news is that when you have the PeopleSoft Integration Broker, Magic XPI automates that PeopleSoft integration, and it really provides you with an enterprise-grade integration approach to business process automation, data synchronization, messaging, and all the things that you need to do in order to communicate with e-commerce platforms, Oracle apps, third-party applications, enterprise content management systems like SharePoint, and so on. And we do that through a studio environment that allows you to visually design your business process flows. You can then run them in a server environment and monitor them. And so all of those environments are leveraging built-in libraries of adapters, components, wizards, methods, resources that are very powerful in terms of being able to do the things that you need to do, both at a technical level and at an application level, in order to interface and interact. Essentially, we're talking about service-oriented architecture, in that you're able to use components, wizards, and resources that expose a variety of different processes at a component or application level, but you can also use web services in a service-oriented architecture model. And in that approach, you're typically choosing between SOAP-based web services and RESTful web services, or representational state transfer. So with SOAP, you're going to be able to utilize WSDLs and UDDIs, WSDLs being the description of the web service, the UDDI being the directory of the web services that are available. With REST, you're typically using, REST is not a protocol, of course. It's an approach, it's a method that has some variation. But basically, you're using HTTP GET, HTTP PUT. I think I put an extra T in there, didn't I, Ryan? And Magic is basically drawing on many years of proven experience in delivering these enterprise-grade, SOA-compliant solutions that have the value of the Magic XPI server built in, because there's scalability there across an elastic, if you will, kind of scalability with automatic error handling, fault tolerance management, operational reliability, and business continuity, with all of the kinds of security requirements that you want for encryption and decryption and any of the variety of methods, as well as user rights, protocol management, and so forth. From an architectural perspective, the platforms themselves are exposing resources, as we said. These may be connectors and application adapters that are accomplishing a wide variety of tasks for you, so that you can do the data management, the data transformation, the mapping that you need to do, so that you can orchestrate those business processes in an event-driven architecture and expose them as services, so that Magic XPI becomes both a publisher and a subscriber to web services in a true service-oriented architecture approach to business process integration. You do that by designing it in the studio interface. You have a Magic XPI SDK available, so that you can really get creative if you want to as a third-party provider, but also remembering that you have visibility at all times. You're able to monitor this through business activity monitoring of the integration platform itself, so that you have dashboard views, you have logging capabilities, and all the while, as we mentioned, adhering to the security profiles that you expect in your kind of secure enterprise IT environment. So what this looks like, so when we start looking at Magic XPI, which Ryan's going to show us, is this visual approach to dragging, dropping, and configuring, so that the most sophisticated kinds of interactions you need to do are basically the details, which the details are, where are my resources located, what's maybe the IP address, what's the resource names that we're going to apply, what kind of business transformations and functions need to be applied to the data. And so at its greatest, it looks something akin to an Excel function that you might have to work with. But so the advantage then being that you're getting the advantage of all these adapters, which are reusable, scalable, and easy to use in this environment where data mapping and monitoring are built into the process. So just a word about the SharePoint integration side is that we, of course, are utilizing Windows SharePoint services. So the advantage of that is that you don't have to use business connectivity services all the time. But business connectivity services are available to you since SharePoint 2010, and you can also utilize those. So we have bi-directional sort of pull and push approach to integration with SharePoint that's enabled by these underlying SharePoint interface technologies. But then once again, how do you do the data transformation, the intermediation? That's where Magic XPI comes in. Just before I hand it over to Ryan, I just wanted to mention that we're obviously providing a full 360-degree support for our customers through maintenance and support contracts. Strategic consulting is available, project management, project delivery, and staffing, where you really see a full life cycle, full service life cycle of strategic IT services available through Magic's global services and our business partners as well. So that can be very important as you're looking at the approach to take, where you have a very flexible, agile, and affordable team of people available to support you. So I want to thank you for listening here in my portion, and I'm going to transfer control of the con, if you will, over to Ryan by changing presenters. And when I do that, Ryan is going to be able to share his desktop with you. So we want to thank Ryan for joining us and invite him to share his desktop and really show us how, from a hands-on perspective, Magic XPI is accomplishing all of this PeopleSoft integration.
Great, thank you, Glenn. So what we're going to do is today is show you a live demonstration of how we can use Magic XPI to integrate Oracle PeopleSoft with Sharepoint. So up on the screen now, you should be able to see my Sharepoint installation. And I've got a list here that might keep track of vendors that are, say, approved to use for people to purchase things. So this information is resides in PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft is the master of record. But if I have someone out there that needs to know, hey, where can I go shopping for X, Y, Z? I don't necessarily want them to have to go into PeopleSoft to find out that information. It's extra training, it's extra licensing, it's extra resources on the server. Obviously that's not something that we want to undertake. So we want to give them something easy that they can open up in SharePoint or on their mobile or something like that. Once you get into SharePoint, obviously you can get to a mobile device easily. But what we'll do is we'll show you how we can do a two-way sync between PeopleSoft and SharePoint. Now, up on my screen here, I've got SharePoint, and I'm going to switch tabs in my browser. You'll see me click up here to the other tab, and I'm going to log into PeopleSoft. They're both on-premise here, but they don't actually have to be because they actually do both provide web services. So the location of them in relative terms to the Magic XPI server is not really that important, but they are both available here in our lab. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the vendor management system here in PeopleSoft. And it's going to do a search with no criteria. So it'll basically come up showing everything. And I'm going to pick anything. Before I do, I'm going to show you back on the other side on SharePoint. There's really nothing in here. If I refresh it a few times, you'll see it'll pop in. There's just one record here, but we're going to add another one. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a modification to a record here on the PeopleSoft side. As I do, it's going to go through the integration and come out the other side and show up in SharePoint. So what I'll do is, here, I'll just go to this one. This is looks fun. It's Disneyland. And here's the Disneyland record vendor. So I'm going to go ahead and modify it. And the way you do that in PeopleSoft is you hit correct history, as I've been taught. Believe me, I'm not a PeopleSoft expert, so if I do something wrong, please scream at me in the chat. And I'm going to go to the address tab. And I'm going to change the address. So it says like 555 Main Street. I guess that's maybe inside Disneyland, but somewhere they're over on Catella Avenue. And we'll go ahead and save it. Now as I save it, I'm going to switch tabs and refresh, and you'll actually see, if I refresh fast enough, you'll see it pop in. And this record came in from the other side. So if I go ahead and open it, you'll see it has all the same records, all the same information that was in PeopleSoft. This is the vendor ID. This is the name of it. This is the address I typed on the other side, and this is when it was created. And you'll see also it's smart enough to know when something changed. So this will be so the vendor ID will be a primary piece of information. If it already exists, it would update a record. For instance, if I go back and I change it now to 54321 and hit save, I can come back here and refresh. Within a couple seconds, you'll actually see the address correct itself to the new version. So it's creating basically a real-time sync between the other two, or it looks real-time. Technically, it's an asynchronous sync, and I can prove that to you. I'm going to go ahead and go back here 1 second and show you how we got this information to leave PeopleSoft and go to SharePoint. Now, the first thing we need to do is go to our favorites. I'm going to go to asynchronous services. And here you're going to see services that we have. And I've got it filtered to stuff we've done this month. So it'll show me my vendor sync, and it shows that it's done 13 of them this month. And you can see that all of them completed successfully. Obviously, if like something was down, like SharePoint was down, you might get a timeout or canceled. But I'll go ahead and click this, and it'll show the messages that came through. So we're on Pacific Coast time, so you'll see the one that came through at 10:28 and 10:29 a.m. And if I go into them, you can actually see what happened to that record. This was of course, a vendor to iBolt. We set it up as iBolt originally. It's now called Magic XPI. And you can actually see the XML that was handed off. This is an XML document, so it is a RESTful-based interface. There's no SOAP header. There's not a lot of too much structure to it. It's literally just going to pass the XML to Magic, and then Magic in turn takes this and sends it off to SharePoint after modifying it very extensively, which I'll go into in just a second. But I kind of wanted to show you under the hood what was happening in PeopleSoft. And then what this is doing is it's basically calling a URL that Magic XPI is responding to. So Magic XPI is providing a RESTful-based web service for PeopleSoft to push it out. Now, it's being pushed out by the PeopleSoft server itself. So, for instance, if this, if the vendor was updated by somebody, working remotely or something like that, they wouldn't be calling Magic XPI directly. It would be calling, the server would be calling it on their behalf. So it's always going to come from the same location. Now, if I minimize all this and I go back to the Magic XPI Studio, this is where we actually created the integration that did what I just showed you. It's a visual design environment. It's designed to create projects that that basically do integration, but in a metadata-driven way. And what I mean by that is you create your project in here, and then you can deploy it to a server. And the server itself is the Magic XPI engine. It's a very well-tested, very well-proven engine that is in production in tons and tons of customers' places. And then each one of them has their own metadata that resides on it that tells it how to act. So the metadata is your project, and a project is this. It's a collection of a lot of flows that tell it what to do. Now, a flow is made up of these steps here that are on my screen, these little icons on here. And each of these steps will go out and run a component and maybe talk to another system or transform some data. For instance, the SharePoint component here will go and talk to SharePoint. And the way I make that work is all I have to do is go through our little palette here. It's called the component repository. I call it the palette. Why not? And grab the SharePoint component, drag it over, and drop it somewhere on the flow. So I can just drop it just like that. And as soon as the next time it ran through here, if the server engine hit this component, it would run it. Now I need to give it a little bit more configuration, tell it what to do, and that's where it gets pretty cool. Is it's very wizard-driven. I can right-click it, I can hit configuration. Because it's a SharePoint component, it's going to launch the SharePoint configuration and allow me to work with lists and entities in SharePoint. So I can work with lists like, obviously we worked with vendors a minute ago, right? But you can see all the other ones I've gotten here. So you can work with anything you want. There's no, when you install Magic XPI, it doesn't tell you what you have to do. You tell it what you want to do. And that means that it's flexible enough to meet basically any business requirements that your organization comes up with. So I can pick, say I want to work with customers this time. I would pick whether I want to do an add, update, delete, query. You know, the old CRUD, change, read, update, delete, and that allows you then to just say you want to work with that list, and then it'll come up in a data mapper. And the data mapper is this. It's basically a tool where you'll see all of the parameters here of this Sharepoint list expressed on the right. And the right is my data destination. And then on the other side, which would be the source, I could configure all kinds of things, like databases, working with MS SQL, Oracle, DB2. You know, maybe I need to go hit a lookup table and get some information. Maybe I don't have enough data. Or maybe I want to get some data from a flat file, like an EDI file, common limited, positional flat file, whatever. XML file would come from any other component. So if I wanted data to come from Salesforce or come from PeopleSoft or whatever, I would grab it from that. And then, of course, internal variables and other data keys and things. So if I just said I wanted to come from a flat file, it's the simplest to set up because I just have to tell it I've got a couple columns like that. That would allow me then to quickly map information from the source data repository to whatever the destination is. And that creates a relationship between the source and destination. It says, hey, as the data flows through here, it goes through this mapping and it'll hit the destination like this. I'll show you a configured one real quick that we already did that actually ran the demo that I just showed you. Right here, the first thing that happens is we have an HTTP trigger that is responding to calls from PeopleSoft. It's called a trigger. That's why it's up at the top. And that means that this is what starts it. This is the why. And then what will happen is it'll run down here and run all these components, and then eventually it'll hit a little fork in the road here and either go to the left or the right, depending on whether or not it existed or it was an update. Remember, we did an add into Sharepoint and then did an update. So the first time it would have gone down to the right, the second time it would have gone to the left. Well, here's our configured add component that I promised I'd show you. It's adding to a list called vendors. We knew that because we saw what it did in the demo. And I can go ahead and expand the right side, which is my Sharepoint list, which kind of looks like it'll have all the same fields, basically. If I put this side by side here, you'll see the field names match up more or less with the ones over here because this is a display name, and this is the name behind the scenes. On the left side, we have my PeopleSoft. This is the call that came in from PeopleSoft. So you'll see there's some mappings that go across. Now, the PeopleSoft XML is actually quite complicated. There's tons and tons of arrays and subfolders and things like that. The Magic XPI mapper will express that in an easy way, easy to understand way. You'll notice that as I go through here and explore it, you'll see the nodes of the XML collapse and expand. Kind of like when you open an XML file in Internet Explorer. You can kind of like expand one and find subfields. You can expand a whole group, or you can minimize it if you just want to look at only one area. So it's actually a pretty cool and intuitive way of working with the XML. And although there's like thousands of fields in there, it actually makes it quite easy to go ahead and map into Sharepoint and be able to maintain the relationship between these. The idea here is that this tool is it's easy enough that anybody can understand. Now you have to go through a short class to learn how to be a Magic XPI developer. But any VA can look at this and see that the field called sequence number is mapped to another field called sequence number up here, and understand that that's the relationship between them. Now these are all one-to-one mappings. You can actually get a lot more complicated if you so choose. If you wanted to, say, take a couple of these fields together like this, you could actually go in and it actually would combine those two fields. I would go in, double-click my destination over here, and I can go in here and make an expression that says, hey, if, I don't know, the country or county equals ABC, do something else, otherwise do whatever was sent over from the other node. So you have a lot of power basically in this expression editor. There's tons of functions we support that are basically very, very similar to using expressions in, say, an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. So you have the power of any other programming language through all of the expressions and things like that. But the tool is totally code-free. You can write, you basically write a project without ever writing really a line of code, unless you wanted to do Say like, hey, if it's this, do that, and or some sort of other manipulation, or maybe you need to modify some dates or something like that. So this is basically the idea, and there's basically a lot of things that this does for us. The fact that the studio and the engine have these components gives us just enough abstraction to do what we need. If you, say, wanted to talk to PeopleSoft or Sharepoint, you wouldn't want to be trying to figure out how you can do a raw HTTP call to Sharepoint. You could be doing web services, but honestly, it's very it's complex enough. Why try, right? So what happens is the SharePoint component is aware of that every SharePoint environment can be unique because of custom lists and custom libraries and custom fields and all those. So it knows how to browse and to understand the schema that's available. It would know how to go into a library and upload a file and see what metadata is required for it. And basically make it very, very simple to do integration. And then we take that approach with every component we have. All these components are designed to bring all of the methods provided by the target system to the surface. Not only provide the connectivity to it, like the security, the bits and bytes on the wire, the authentication, of course, and compliance with the protocol, but it also exposes methods that are available. So, like if I was working obviously with a SharePoint component, it would have methods for lists and libraries. Salesforce would have methods for Salesforce. If I was working with an email server, it would have, obviously, we have methods for sending and receiving emails. Exchange can work with calendars and all kinds of different things in Exchange, like address books and of course, sending and receiving emails as well. So all these components are designed to make things a lot easier. The reason for all this is it makes your integration much faster. When you make the developer's life easier, when they spend almost no time coding the project, and they can spend more time, understanding, basically researching business requirements and testing, and doing all the other things around it, then you have a lot less risk and you'll be a lot more successful, as opposed to writing lines and lines of code and trying to maintain that, and then the guy that wrote it left and nobody knows what it did, and it's not documented well. The great thing about Magic XPI is it sort of documents itself as you go along. You can very easily see what a project is doing. You can understand that this is sending an email. You can understand that this is reading XML. You can understand this is calling SharePoint. It's very visual, and the training on this is much simpler. If I was to go learn how to do this project in .NET, I'd have to go take a 4-month course at local community college or self-study.net or something like that. Whereas Magic XPI can be learned in just in a week. So it's a very rapid way of basically getting started on your project and delivering it much faster than you could with other tools. You'll see over here on the left, our project is made up of multiple flows. The reason is because what will happen is in the end, basically your project could have multiple flows because they can run at the same time in parallel. This allows you to basically have what we call a multi-threaded environment, where if you have, say, one integration between PeopleSoft and SharePoint, and maybe another one going the other way, just like I have here, I have another return trip. If there's a lot of data going across one of them, it doesn't slow the other one. It doesn't affect it. They'll run what we call a different thread, and the different thread is basically a different pipeline or a different process, a different context altogether that runs in parallel. Similar to like using multiple cores on a computer processor, right? It's sort of basically leveraging parallel execution to do that. Beyond that, besides just multiple flows in a project, once you've created your project, you can see here that you can have many different projects. This is called the Magic XPI Monitor. It is a tool that lets you see what's going on because the server is transparent. When I was working with PeopleSoft and SharePoint, you didn't really see me click Magic XPI. Like, where was it? What did it do? it's transparent. It runs on a server as a Windows service. It doesn't need to be maintained, or you don't need to click anything to make it do anything. The idea is that it runs 24/7. Basically, they're talking to applications and doing its job. Now, if you want to see what it's up to and how hard it's working and if it's being successful, we have here the Magic XPI monitor that lets us see what projects are running. So you can see I have a project here called Agile Point Demo. An Agile Point Demo project is sitting on because I see the green light, and I see the PeopleSoft POC, and my colleague originally misspelled PeopleSoft, you can see, and it's hard to change now because that's what it's calling, and it's got the green light, and basically that means it's up and running and doing what we need. Then I can see other projects that are not running. I can see that they got the red light. That means that you can see how reusable this is. So if you bring this into your organization, you write your first project, you do an integration, PeopleSoft to SharePoint or whatever, eventually you will have people bring you more integration needs and you do other things. And you can reuse the server. You can throw another project on it and have it run as a separate instance. And that would basically leverage the server's ability to do that and be reusable. So that means that you wouldn't have to go back and change the PeopleSoft project. You could put another one on here. So there's a lot of reusability to it. Also the fact that when you have flows, the flows themselves are reusable. You can import them and export them. You can call a flow from another flow. So there's really a way to leverage things that you've done in the past as opposed to writing things from scratch. Besides, of course, that even when you're using components, you are reusing logic. Someone wrote the SharePoint component. Someone wrote the Salesforce component. When you call that and you're using it, it's basically a very, very rapid way of getting into using it. Similar to in other languages, you can import libraries and things like that that give you methods. That's basically what our components can do. So now what I'm going to do, that I went ahead and pushed data from, in the early part of the demo, we pushed data from PeopleSoft into SharePoint. I'm going to try and go the other way now. It doesn't always work because sometimes there's data validation in PeopleSoft that I'm not 100% familiar with, but I'll give it a shot. So I'm going to come here into SharePoint. This was the data that came into here, and this was our record. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify it, and I'm going to set the address to, I don't know, 5555, and I'm going to go ahead and change this and save this. We're doing it C. Now this is just just for demo purposes, how we would call PeopleSoft, whether it's an add, change, or delete. Obviously, I want to change, but behind the scenes, obviously, Magic would handle that and know whether it's an add or change. This just gave me tons of control of what we do for testing purposes. By the way, you will see in here that we have the PeopleSoft transaction ID or a PeopleSoft error. So I can get one or the other depending on if the call succeeds. So as I click OK, it committed the change I did, and then I'll come back, and in a second I should see the send switch to no, and I should see a transaction ID come in. There it goes. It just flipped now. This is a transaction ID that's unique to PeopleSoft. It's part of the integration broker that tells me this is your proof that you handed. It's my tracking number, like if I sent something UPS. So I can go and look in PeopleSoft and see if this made it. So first things first, I can go back to my vendors, and I can do a search. Try and find Disneyland again. Here it is. And then it didn't update, and actually sometimes it takes some time. There's actually it's actually an asynchronous process, remember. So it may update in a minute here. But while we're waiting for that to happen, I can go back to our asynchronous services, and you can see there's another call that came in here. I can open this up, and I can see basically another message that came in here at 10:48. You can see the one we sent earlier. Remember, this is the one I showed you we demoed. This was one that came the other way. This was an inbound message coming a different way. And I can go in and see the details of it. And I can even see basically I do see that there was an error, and then we can figure out what the error was. Say it doesn't like something with the specified key. It doesn't like the vendor ID. So maybe it's saying that I tried to use the same vendor ID or something like that. So I could try to resubmit it or change that. Also, I can see the XML that came in from Magic, and actually, if I wanted to, I could actually modify it here and resubmit it. But actually, that's not really the way to go about it. What I'd probably do is come back to SharePoint, and I could just go ahead and change my vendor ID to something unique, like just go like that, and then go ahead and I'd even say let's just call it an add, and resubmit it. And hopefully in a couple of seconds I'll refresh here. And you'll see the new one came in just now. We can go in there and see, hey, did this one succeed? This is an inbound call, and this, of course, errored again. So apparently, I'm not the best at learning how to get data into PeopleSoft, but that's why we have our experts to help us out. So, but you can see basically how easy it is and what kind of traceability there is. This is a dashboard that shows you all the messaging between one application and the other. And you can see all your outbound queues, and you can see all your inbound queues as well. So it gives you a lot of visibility in what's happening. So we can see that in the Magic XPI Monitor, but you can also see it here directly in the PeopleSoft engine. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions now. So if you have any questions, type them in the chat, and we'll try to address those. If there's too many, we can always get back to you at a later time. But
okay, great. Thanks, Ryan. I see some questions coming in here. First one, how can the flows be added to my project documentation? What format is it?
Right. So the flows themselves obviously are nice and visual here in Magic XPI Studio. But if you wanted to go ahead and get the data out of here and give it to somebody who doesn't have the studio, you would have to go ahead and export it. And you can actually do that with one button. I swear, it's all you need. I'm going to go ahead and click this little button here that looks like a printer that I always accidentally hit because it's next to the save button. But it'll basically what will happen is it's going to print this and go to a virtual printer. And what it does is it actually just exported my whole project to an HTML page. You can make this into like a PDF if you want, but it'll show you all the information about your flows, what they do. It'll also go ahead and give you, say, pictures of things that might be important, like like your picture of your flows. It'll actually also show you even your resources, so you can see what resources are in here. You can see I have a resource for PeopleSoft, and there's one of the things that we're calling. And basically all of the information that you may want to know how to call, all this is going to be available right inside this, and it's basically really, really easy to export and document itself.
Can you show the function list again in the data mapper? Are there arithmetic operators and variables?
Absolutely, yes. Variables are native to here. So as the data moves from one component to the next, that data is maintained inside of what are called variables. So you have your variables like alphas, blobs, logicals, of course numerics, and those are your contexts that move from component to component, and they can be leveraged in the data mapper. So if I would say, for instance, if I was doing let's go into this one real quick. If I go into this one, you'll see that we have simple arithmetic ones, like if I said, I don't know, what's user string or user code, which is a number, I could say +5 or something like that. But also there's a lot of ones. I'll go through it very slowly. This is a list of things for concatenating, date manipulation, string manipulation, basic arithmetic, working with variables, if statements, booleans, and other things, min, max, month. There's actually a full list of this on our website, on our DevNet site that you can Google, and you can see all the different functions available. So.
Cool. Next question, what is the cost per user?
There's no cost per user. It's based on number of concurrent processes. So remember I talked about threads earlier, things that are going, processes that are going one way or another time. So it's just licensed based on number of concurrent processes, and that means that it can scale to whatever you want. So if you're a small organization and you just need one simple integration, or if you're a huge organization and you need multiple servers and multiple threads and high availability and all these things, basically the tool will scale to your needs.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have. Ryan, so I want to thank you very much for your demonstration today, and thank each of you for joining us on today's webinar. We have our next webinar coming up at 11, which is Primavera Integration, SharePoint Mobile, and beyond. So we would invite you to join us again for that if you're Primavera users, and otherwise we invite you to check the website at magicsoftware.com for upcoming events and information, or send us an email at info@magicsoftware.com, and we'll be happy to work with you to provide the kinds of resources and information you're looking for specifically within your